Now, welcome. Well, you're forgiven, by the way, if when you picture Irish internationals winning international match over the weekend, you're not jumping straight to the rugby. That is allowed given the weekend that was. But to be fair, the rugby team have hogged the success in the headlines for much of the last decade, so I'm sure they won't mind. Nonetheless, they did beat Australia 46 points to 19. Next weekend's opponent, South Africa, beat Italy, naturally with 14 men. That's just what they do. So that is now set up beautifully for 5:40 p.m. next Saturday at the Aviva Stadium. Other results from the weekend: England won a 10th consecutive match under Steve Borthwick. I'm going to miss that, up to 10. But they really did click in a big way, beating New Zealand 33 points to 19. And then Scotland were booed off at Murrayfield after botching a 21-0 lead. They find new ways. They lost 33-24. Argentina beat them from 21-0 down. Ian Madigan, hi.
Joe, how are we?
That was Ian chuckling in the background, Scottish fans, not me.
I know, it's terrible, but there's just something about the Scots, and when they're under pressure, they're not very good.
They shouldn't have been under pressure at 21-0 down, but they found a way. Yeah. We'll have to talk England, by the way.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah, this year's Six Nations is interesting. Our rugby coverage as ever with thanks to Energia. They sponsor rugby in Ireland at all levels. Grassroots with the Energia AIL. They are official energy partner to Leinster, Connacht, the Irish men's and women's teams. Their Rugby for All initiative as well welcomes everyone of all abilities to participate in the game. So you can learn more about Energia's exclusive home energy offer for rugby fans at energia.ie/rugby. Excuse me. So, Ireland 46, Australia 19. Biggest win over Australia in history, 4 in a row, albeit it was 25-14 with 10 minutes to go, and then Ireland added on 3 tries, Doris, Baird, Robbie Henshaw, which made it a 27-point win. You guys were predicting tight, squeaky, 27-point win.
Yeah, it was. I think the scoreboard definitely flattered us in the end, but at the same time, I thought Australia were really poor. But I don't want to take away from our good performance. But like some of the stats I was going through, Australia's 6 line-out turnovers, 7 handling turnovers, 4 turnovers in contact, 3 drop passes, 3 bad passes. They are really poor stats. We dominated them in the air. So like issues that we were thinking could be for Ireland, like the line-out ended up being a big issue for Australia. And that has a big influence on the outcome of a game. There were parts of the game that I was a little bit disappointed at, like for having dominated large parts that first half to be only 19-14 up at half time. I thought we kind of left them in it. And then in the second half, like Bundy gives away a poor penalty for being offside. Kind of one of those ones that mightn't seem like a big deal at the time, but they will really frustrate the coaching team and the players around them. There's a certain standard that this Irish team holds themselves to, and Bundy does as well. It was as much a mistake than anything, but that could have been really costly because you go from being 2 scores reasonably comfortable to then you give Australia a chance. They kick the ball, great kick from James O'Connor, gets it within 5. They score there. Suddenly it's a 1-score game. And for a team that hasn't played particularly well, they might find something, and it could have been one of those nights. But on the flip side, I thought Ireland were really impressive in that second half.
Andy Farrell said after the game, we had an unbelievable warm-up. I was saying to myself, wow, if Carlsberg could do warm-ups, it doesn't always transfer, but it did this time. It's nice when we prepare well and we got a performance in the back of it. It struck a lot of people, I'm sure, that there was a crispness. We talked during not just last week, but during last week's pod. But we've talked for a while now about a kind of a slovenliness, a sloppiness to Ireland's handling.
Yeah.
First even 2-3 minutes, it just looked sharper, more crisp. That absolutely improved, which was very reassuring. I was starting to worry, were we just becoming a team prone to silly mistakes?
Yeah, and we in the first 2 games, we just looked a little bit indecisive, whereas when we made the decision early that we were going to just carry the ball, we'd punch forward, our rucking was really accurate, and then we'd really good awareness of space. So realising as a forward, okay, maybe it's not the best for me to carry, but the player outside me is actually in a better position here and he's running at greater force. And that we kept pounding into that Australian defence. And
with more physicality than you had seen? Because that was something we also...
Yeah, and part of that is just like another week of training, another week of working on your cohesion, saying, look, in this instance, do this, in this instance, do that. That compounds training session on training session. And there was an element, and they were talking about how well they were training, but it wasn't transferring into games. It did transfer into this game. It clicked, and you need a bit of good fortune at times. There was a couple of times where the ball ended up on the ground, but it wasn't a knock on. And there's also a skill to knowing when to leave it and maybe give someone else an opportunity to pick it up rather than going for it straight away and knocking it on. Both the Hansen tries, it's not completely fluid, but there's an awareness there from the Irish players that the space is there and we just need to get it there. And they were able to do that by hook or by crook. And Hansen, he's a great spatial awareness himself. He puts himself in the right positions. You could say, it's as easy a hat trick as you can come across, but he got himself into those try-scoring positions.
Were the first two not completely pre-planned to the extent that he was just meant to be standing there and it was always going to go to him, or no?
Look, there's a bit of that, but it's very easy to get that wrong. You could stand too wide, you could miss the jump on it, you could panic, it's a slippy ball, you could dive on it. No, there's lots to that. Like, scoring a try is difficult, so when you get them, I don't want to talk them down.
Well, it's funny, Farrell on Hansen, he was asked about his performance at 15 generally and why he had played so well, and he was talking like, the background, playing 10, playing 15, it's why he's so nice to watch is one of the things he said about him. But he said he gets rugby. He can make a difference within a game. He's just got a good feel in the backfield. He understands depth perception and all of that. When he's talking about depth perception and all of that.
Yeah, so depth perception, he's probably referring to attack there. So when to stand closer to the player inside him, when to stretch it out, when to punch the hole. It's hard to coach that.
Is it?
Yeah, like that. A lot of that is instinct, because you can't say, "Oh, look, in this instance, run the hard line. In this instance, hold your feet. In this instance, call for that." You either have that or you don't.
There are too many variables. You
too many variables.
Read the room.
Yeah. Now, look, you can improve it, and you can say, "Look, on video analysis, these are options that you could have gone to." Yeah. But the best guys were good at it at mini rugby.
Right.
Okay. Right. They had a good awareness of when to give the pass, when to give the offload, when to run the hard line.
When Farrell says he gets rugby.
Yes. And it was actually interesting. I was at the game and I was watching his backfield cover because he hasn't played loads at 15. He's played a bit there for Connacht, and he's played well without being amazingly good. And there's a couple of areas going into the game that I thought he could get exposed. He's not a top kicker out of hand. Like, he doesn't have the length of some of the, like Ramos, for example, who'd be one of the best. And also, covering the backfield as a 15 is very different to covering it as a winger. And Hugo Keenan is up there with the best. He's a really fit guy. He covers the ground really well. He hedges his bets. He's always kind of covering high percentage. But what impressed me with Hansen was he wasn't trying to be Hugo Keenan in the backfield, because he probably knows that he's not as fit and he's not going to be able to cover the ground. But he can also offer something different. And I remember having conversations with Rob Carney about this, because Rob was very good at changing the picture in the backfield. Because if he says, if I paint the same picture every time, the opposition, scrum half, out half, fullback, are going to know where the space is. Whereas sometimes I'll show one picture one time and then I'm going to change it the next time. So he might stand really deep initially and look to eat up the ground, or he might stand flat and then look to backpedal when they try and beat him with the kick in behind. Hansen was doing that at the weekend, and he was also quite aggressive in his backfield cover, in the sense that he would stand quite flat behind the back line that was in front of him. And you're nearly kind of taunting the opposition scrum half and out half. Go on, I dare you to try and kick it in behind me. And they got it in behind him maybe once, possibly twice, but there was lots of times when Hansen caught the ball on the full and was then, he had the full pitch in front of him. He could either run it or he could kick it long back, and it ended up in a significant gain from Ireland. And that's footballing nous that Hansen has.
Quite accomplished, isn't it?
It is accomplished, but it's offering Ireland something different.
And what would Hugo do by comparison, or is that a tough question to put you?
No, like Hugo's backfield cover is brilliant, but he would typically sit a bit deeper and he's happy. He's happy doing that because he covers the ground so well.
Okay.
But it can be like Australia don't kick the ball particularly well, so Hansen was quite suited to being a bit more aggressive and taunting them to kick the ball in behind them. South Africa this week will pose a slightly different challenge.
You wouldn't be shocked if against South Africa he decided to, less of the show and the different pictures, just sit a little bit more deeper like Hugo does, potentially.
Yeah, you might do that, or you might get a bit more help from your wingers as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so he was very good at releasing his wingers. He allowed, especially, he allowed both Tommy and Lowy to get up high in the defensive line.
As opposed to saying, someone stay back with
Help me out, help me out.
I'm new at this.
But that's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, sure.
The easy thing is to and you can end up with 2.5 players in the backfield. Whereas a confident fullback will know, no, in this instance, right, go on, you push up there, I'll cover you here hard.
That's a great insight to get because, one, it's not always immediately obvious on TV what someone's doing in the backfield, so it's great you were there. And two, it was maybe the big question about Hansen at fullback. I don't think anyone, when we said we were all excited about Hansen playing there, it wasn't that like we were worried about Hansen getting extra touches in the ball and being more involved. That was going to take care of itself. It was the defence.
Yeah, and just the kind of intricacies of fullback. And this week is going to pose a different challenge because South Africa are just going to play an aerial bombardment, which they do really, really well. Like you could get to half time in this game and not think South Africa have done a whole lot, and they mightn't have. But then in the space of 2 or 3 minutes, they can turn it on and they are very good.
They're a moments team.
Yes, but what I'm saying with that is the aerial bombardment and kicking long will challenge us, and you've got to cover yourself in a different way there.
Okay, he may say to a winger, for instance. Though a good old statement of intent in the first 2-3 minutes when he had the overhead.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
And you know what we'd be saying if an Irish fella had done it? Oh, the GAA.
Yeah.
Other people can catch a ball too in the world. We like a bit of exceptionalism with that whole GAA thing, but it was a great catch.
No, it was, and it set the tone. Like that first attack from Ireland set the tone for the whole game. We didn't score from it, but we went from that catch. Then I think Sheehan gets off the line, really impactful tackle. But it's also that kind of one that if you're attacking against that, it kind of shocks you. Oh, these guys are up for it, or they're coming hard here. Yeah. And then the attacking passage of play that came off that, we were moving the point of contact, we moved it from width to width, we challenged them with good hard runners. I think we ended up maybe knocking the ball on at the end, but I can guarantee you the Aussies would have come up from that and gone, geez, these guys are good.
Well, that was my sense of the thing. Yeah. That's when I go back to the crispness, because I'm including a lot under that umbrella. It doesn't just mean they caught the ball.
No.
I mean,
they set the tone.
It's fluid, it's fast, point of contact changing, big runs, variety, but it's all just happening with a certain kind of intensity, speed and confidence, which I just haven't seen from them in a long time.
No, and it looked fluid and easy. Yeah. And that's where Prendergast is very, very good at running the attack. And it looked particularly fluid at the weekend because he assesses his options really well. He can count the numbers. He knows what deck of cards he's playing with himself. He's got a really good skill set to then pick the right option. And he created a huge amount of opportunities for that Irish team. Not all of which we capitalised on, which was a frustration. But that's what you got to do as an out half. The same way when you're putting the ball up in the air, are you giving your team opportunities to get up and compete? Are you giving your team opportunities to run the ball and beat your opposite man?
Well, let's talk kicking in a moment and hone in on Prendergast, who you've brought up for a second. So with the ball, what you're saying there is running that, because this is what we keep hearing about Prendergast, when, line-out's not malfunctioning, when there's a bit of front football, this guy running an attack has a super high ceiling. And so you saw that in evidence on Saturday.
Yeah, it's his ability to know when it's the right time to go to width, to go back to the short side, to play tight. It's not on. Let's go to the next one. Or the team's getting tired. Let's go aerial.
And how is that the equivalent of Mack Hansen's rugby understanding? He's just feeling that, or is that something that you can learn?
You can't learn it. And full credit to Crowley. Like he's made significant improvements in that over the last year. That would have been something that I would have been critical last year with him. And when he came on, he had a cracking game. And it was one of those ones when, and I've been that guy plenty of times when you're the sub and the guy who started has played really well. Yeah. And you're coming on going, right, I'm going to show this coach now that I'm good too.
Yeah.
And you can force things. And he didn't do that. He was actually very patient when he came on, and nearly all of his involvements were positives. And he certainly offers something different, which I know we're going to dive into. But yeah, with Prendergast, he's just very good at assessing what's in front of him and picking the right option. His passing game is really good, and what's particularly good about his passing game is passing under pressure, when he can take the ball right to the line and then pick the right option. That's a real strength of his game.
But then the issue, and we cited this with the view to, if he went very well against Australia, could you trust his defence against South Africa, as being the glaring question. And people will remember the effort on his own try line against Len Ikitau, and there was another one where out wide he was run over as well. So when Andy Farrell is doing the pros and cons list, that feels like just such a big con still. He didn't put that to bed, put it that way on Saturday, far from. And it became a talking point again because, very good on the ball. That was self-evident. And yet the con was still the con.
Yeah, like his passing game and his kicking game were particularly good. His ability to get the ball up in the air, create contestables. The spiral kick was amazing. I think he had 3 crossfield kicks. One resulted in a try. One resulted in a try which was chalked off because of a previous knock on, and one resulted in a big gain. His kicking was excellent, and in comparison to Crowley's kicking out of hand in the New Zealand game, there was a big gap between the two of them there. But as we said before the game, defensively, it is still an issue, and it's always going to be an issue for Prendergast. And the reason I say that is he's 6'4", playing in the out half position, and you're going to have big bodies coming at you and powerful bodies coming at you. His tackle selection when Ikitau takes him on at the line, look, it had been a long passage of play, but he's going for the wrong type of tackle 5 metres from the line. That's where, regardless, you've just got to empty yourself into that guy.
What did he do versus what should he have done?
Well, he got a very good tackle on James O'Connor earlier in the game. Yeah. It's not perfect technique in the sense you want the power coming from your legs, driving from your legs, as opposed to more of a kind of falling motion. But that's where he needs to get all of his weight moving forward into lane. And regardless of whether you get him on the ground, get Ikitau on the ground or not, you just need to get enough of an impact so that you can get help from the player inside or outside you. Like it's never going to be an out half looking to stop a powerful guy 5 metres from your line. But what you've got to do is stop the initial momentum, which buys your teammates a split second to come in and help. If you soak, how can they help you? And that's kind of what I've been trying to touch on when I've been talking about Prendergast's defence, because he actually leads the line really well, especially off set piece on scrum and line out. He gets up ahead, and when he can get his body in front, Leinster and Ireland can salvage that defensively. But if you're not getting up ahead of the players inside and outside you, and you're soaking, then it becomes an issue. And yeah, then there's just, I suppose, some of the basics. Like, you're going to have plenty of people coming at you. If you can get them down, get yourself out of the tackle. Like, he gave away a penalty early on in the game, which that does have a knock-on impact as well.
So is the Ikitau one for you is an issue with technique and not one with attitude or wanting the physicality?
No, like I think, like if you look at the James O'Connor one early in the game, he's trying to show, I can tackle. And tackling when you're 6'4" in that position, it's really difficult. It's not like Sam is brave, because
that is questioned by people.
I know it is.
How much does he want it?
He does want it, and you forget that he just hasn't played loads of rugby at this top level. He's still making a decision: what type of technique should I be using here, as opposed to it being instinctive and knowing this is the technique I need to use, and I need to just whack this guy as hard as I can, or I need to hedge my bets and work with the guy inside me, or I need to hedge my bets and work with the guy outside me. He's still thinking about that. He's figuring that part of the game out. But his bravery wouldn't be something I'd question.
So you mentioned the kicking there. We'll circle back to which of the two you think Farrell will go for. Johnny Sexton about 10 days ago did a press conference, which was kind of typically informative. Johnny can't help himself. He's like, I know I shouldn't be talking about this, but you've asked, so I'll tell you. So, he remembered back that 2019 England win at the Aviva and the escort lines. It was more of an escort wall that Eddie Jones set up, and this negated Conor Murray's box kicks, which were kind of in their pomp at the time. And so Johnny said, like, look, the game has changed again. We've gone back to 2018 and we're working on it. Trust us, everyone. We're on the case. We're going to sort this out. And you figured it wouldn't be long before we saw it in evidence. I mean, Ireland completely dominated the air against Australia.
Yeah. And I know we spoke about it probably, I don't know, maybe a month ago, about the team that dominates in the air, their likelihood of winning goes up significantly. That was one of the reasons why I was so confident that England would beat New Zealand. Not that New Zealand are particularly poor in the air. England are particularly good. And I haven't seen enough in New Zealand. I don't think it's a big area of focus for them. It's the total focus of England. Yeah. Get the ball up contestable. And then it's how they've practiced when they do win the ball in the air or win the scraps. They've practiced how they attack off those instances. And it's particularly fluid. And they're ahead of Ireland in that sense. They bring together their backs and forwards and can put together really potent plays when they do win those. We still look a little bit disjointed when we get those opportunities.
They arrive. We'll get on to them. They arrive on the scene ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But first step of that is winning the ball. The kick's being good.
The first part is the kick.
Yeah.
Right. So the kick being accurate is the first part. Like, can you give the likes of Tommy O'Brien and James Lowe the opportunity to get up and compete? If the kick is too short, you're kind of stuck underneath it. If it's too far, you're going to be jumping vertically into the player in the backfield, which is bad news. That's where you can get yourself into big trouble with yellow and red cards. You want to be able to chop your feet and get up horizontally at the ball. The quality of the kick dictates that. Gibson Park did it excellently against New Zealand. And Prendergast, actually, it wasn't. His kicking was good without being very good at the weekend. The Australians dealt with the ball very poorly. But when Johnny's going to go through those kicks with Sam and grade them, he'll be like, look, that was too far, but they didn't catch it or they knocked it on. So in theory, like, Johnny will be looking at it in the cold, hard facts and saying the accuracy of that wasn't where we wanted it to be.
Yeah, with a view to South Africa, who won't drop one.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's the standards that Johnny will demand, in the same way that he'll go through all parts of the game with both out halves.
Yeah. So I know you don't have the stats to hand. Were the ones that weren't necessarily on the money generally too long, too short? Was there a trend? I mean, he likes a high one.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. When I say not perfectly on the money, if they're slightly too far, okay, but they've got excellent hang time,
which his really do.
They really do, and excellent. So they've gone too far, but their hang time is excellent. That means that the defensive team, Ireland, we were talking about, could have 2, 3, 4 players around the team that's catching. So you're not necessarily getting up and competing, but you could make an impact tackle.
Yeah.
And then you've got players there ready to counter ruck. That's still a really good result. And you've also progressed yourself up the pitch, maybe 30, 35 metres. Whereas the kick that goes too short might only go 10 metres. And if you don't win that one, then you're at risk of being offside. You haven't progressed yourself up the field at all. So a lot of the time, out halves will hedge the kick going slightly too far than too short.
Yeah, short one feels ugly, and you're quite vulnerable as well.
Yeah,
because you tend to get quite a few players gravitating towards it, and so if you lose it, they can be on, I feel.
Yeah, and that's the difference as well between a 9 and a 10. For a 9 to kick it slightly too short, it's not too bad because you're kicking it from the breakdown. Everyone's set and in front of you, around you. As an out half, you've got lots of players in front of you. So if you sky one up into the air, it can be particularly ugly. So that's where, like, assessing the quality of the strike, the hang time. Can you get the hang time up to over 4 seconds, 5 seconds? That's the ideal, because that gives the chasing players time to cover the ground.
So while it's not being perfect, it's an improvement on what Crowley did against New Zealand. And I'm not saying, by the way, Crowley can't improve on what he did against New Zealand. But if you're comparing the two kicking...
Yeah, and like Crowley's kicking before that New Zealand game for Munster was of a far higher standard. And we're measuring him on 6, 7 kicks, But the difference between a kick going too far and the team being able to get 2 passes back into the middle of the field, that's a big difference between saying it's too far, we weren't able to compete, but we tackled the catcher on the ground.
Yeah. So who do you think plays on Saturday against South Africa?
I think who plays and who I think should play, probably 2 different things. I think Sam might get the start. If I was picking the team, I'd pick Crowley for his physicality, both defensively and how he runs the ball, how physical he is when he runs the ball. I think it's going to be that kind of game.
And why do you suspect Farrell might go for Prendergast?
I think he would have been impressed by his performance of the weekend. I think he leans on giving Prendergast more of a chance as well. Like he got the rub of the green through last season. He's gave him 30 minutes against Japan, gave him the start against this weekend. It wasn't the luxury that Crowley was getting last year.
So it almost boils down to your sense is, and I don't disagree with it, by the way.
Yeah.
Your sense is something in Farrell just sort of fancies Prendergast a little bit more.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, and I think Crowley to manage the first 50, 55, 60 minutes and Sam's unpicking of the South African team in the final 20 minutes, that could work. But on the flip side, Crowley's impact off the bench was excellent. So they're both going to have a big say at the weekend.
Yeah.
I think Farrell is using the out half as an impact sub now, which we don't see other teams using a whole lot.
Do you know, maybe the way to phrase it now is, well, isn't this a positive that they're both playing well?
Yeah.
It's been a slightly kind of a tempestuous debate for the last year, 18 months, and it probably hasn't been a lot of fun for them. But you would say it's certainly brought the best out of Crowley. Yeah. Like it's prompted a reaction. So he's upped his game on a few levels. And Prendergast has shown he's made the right stuff to come back from the disappointment of the last few months and played very well. So they're actually both in decent form. You could play either and the other off the bench and make a case for it. How bad?
Yeah, and I like with international rugby, what you want is variability.
Yeah.
So when you're playing a certain team, you can plug in certain players. Playing a different style the following week, you can plug in different players. And what also that means from an opponent's perspective is if they're looking to scout how Ireland are going to play and scout whether it's Prendergast or Crowley or Harry Byrne, makes their job a lot harder. As opposed to going, right, well, we've got Johnny Sexton coming up this week. We know, look, he's a brilliant player. There's lots to his game, but we know what he's going to do.
Yeah, we've 300 matches to analyse. Yeah. But so then a final one on all this, because it has been said, like with the view to the World Cup, you want to know who your 10 is. You want a de facto starting 10. That's kind of received wisdom that we all take now. I would routinely quote Sexton's book where he remembers Brian O'Driscoll coming up to him at the 2011 World Cup saying, why can't you, like during in training, run the week? Yeah. What are you doing? Run the week the way you do for us, Leinster. And he was saying, I don't even know I'm starting. Yeah. Can't be the same person if I don't know I'm starting. So that's the argument against the in-out thing. But maybe, the word finishers wasn't used 5 years ago. You were a sub, but now you can be a finisher and feel part of the team. Maybe the next evolution of 10 play is you can have two guys who can accept being in and then sometimes out and off the bench. And do you think that's possible that they could work towards that?
I think
or should it be it's a decision-making position. He's your 10. You've got to run the team. Let him run the team.
I still am in favour of let him run the team.
Okay.
But even hearing the press conferences and how they spoke about each other and how they get on and how they're working together for the team, I didn't think they were paying that lip service. I believed them when they were saying it. So they are very much working together. It's not that it's untenable for it to continue with the chopping and changing. We are also still 2 years out from the World Cup.
Time.
We don't need to make the decision right now. When we are coming up to the World Cup, you probably want to have a clear idea of who your guy is, or against certain teams who your guy is.
Okay.
But for the moment, I'm happy to see them chop and change and thrash it out, and
both kind of doing all right on the circumstances.
Yeah, well, that's
the most important thing.
The great thing is about sport. We were talking about it before coming on air. A week is a long time in sport. Like last week, I was kind of implying that Andy needs to lift these two guys up because it's a weaker position in the Irish team. Whereas at the weekend, that wasn't the case. They weren't. The out half position at the weekend was not one of Ireland's weaker positions. It was one of our strongest positions.
Yeah.
And that's in the space of a week. It's changed the whole complexity of it.
Yeah.
And as opposed to looking for alternatives, they're saying we can work with these guys. And there certainly is enough quality there. Two quality out halves.
Well, the next two games are South Africa Saturday and France away on a Thursday night. So fascinating to see who he picks. Other people we should mention, Ryan Baird was billed as a big November for him to make the number 6 jersey his own. I mean, certainly, anyone can see what he was doing in the defensive line out. It was kind of immense, really. General play, how's he been doing?
He's been working hard. Like I think himself and James Ryan will look at their ball carrying and will want to find another gear.
Right.
Like you think back to those kind of bullocking runs that Baird was making in previous seasons for Leinster and for Ireland. We haven't seen any of those just yet. And maybe that's down to him being more focused on his core roles of, running, playing in the system, getting the right breakdowns, running the line out really well. And he's not as kind of free-spirited as he was, where he didn't have any of those responsibilities and he was just thinking about, beating the defender opposite him or running a really good line or holding the width. Now he's probably thinking, right, I need to hit these breakdowns. The team needs me to do more of those kind of hard yards. And then it's probably taken a bit more out of him as well. He doesn't quite have that freshness in his legs where you can just sit out on the touchline and wait for those opportunities. But he'll have been delighted with the line out. I thought it was particularly entertaining when, I don't know what journalist asked him in the press conference last week, but they were kind of questioning Paul O'Connell, and he said who, like who's he obviously couldn't see the journalist in the room, but you could just sense them crawling under the tables because no one wanted to take responsibility for that. Yeah. So, but what that showed me was that, and this was the inkling that I had, that these Irish players are taking it really personally, the criticism that was being angled towards Paulie, and they fully believe in him and the system that they're working in, and the sense of elation of it coming good both defensively and the attacking line out at the weekend, that would have been a really good feel good
a relief.
Big time.
Yeah. Okay, so a bit more pump in the carry.
Yeah, and look, as a six, that's the area of growth, because look, he's great defensively in the line, brilliant attacking line out operator. But if you look at the big sixes, the best sixes in the world, and even the other options like the likes of Cormac Izuchukwu, who's really powerful, great footwork, Hearn, who's got really good top end speed. That's where you need at top international rugby. You need your six to be a big, strong ball carrier.
Okay, well, he should be that really.
Oh, he's got all the hardware for it.
Yeah. Okay. So then that back row is obviously interesting, given Doris did 50 minutes at 7. Josh van der Flier, I think, is back in contention for selection on Saturday. Why? So say let's go. We'll talk about where van der Flier sits in a second. But why did they look at Caelan Doris and say, we'll take you from 8 where you're there or thereabouts, the best 8 in the world on your day. We'll take you from 8 and move you to 7 and put Jack Conan into 8. Why is it that way as opposed to, for instance, Jack Conan, you go into 7? What is it about the roles and the profile of player that made them go for, no, we'll move Doris over, we'll put in Conan? Is it about balance? Is it about something that 7 requires that Conan can't do and Doris can? Or what's the thinking, do you think?
Well, Doris has played 7, more times than Jack has. His ability to get over the ball would be a bigger strength than Conan, for example. And
7 is still that traditional, you get in over the ball thing.
Yeah, you still need those, and it's also like you've got to connect with the backs off the side of the scrum. Doris would do that particularly well. He's quick over the ground.
As in, if you get the ball a little.
No, sorry, this is defending. So when
sorry.
the opponents are attacking into that seam as a 7, you've got to defend that space laterally off the scrum and plug inside your out half.
Yeah.
Doris would do that particularly well.
Right.
Conan's a brilliant ball carrier and a brilliant number 8. Moving him to number 7, I think it would nullify some of his strengths. So I thought that was a smart move. The other part of that I really liked, we're not the tallest of teams, but by having Doris at number 7 made us a little bit taller.
Okay.
Gave us another line out option.
And do you lose his ball carrying then? Is whoever's at 7, whether it's Conan or Doris, they're not going to carry the ball as much?
Yeah, like I still think Conan is a better number 8 than he is. Sorry, I still think Doris is a better number 8 than he is number 7. Okay. But I really like what he's offering us. And I think when you're playing against a particularly powerful team or a team with a good line-out, I think he's a very good option at number 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he might make less of the headlines, fewer of the carries, but for the team.
Yeah. And I actually think it's a good option this week. Like I'd imagine if Josh is fit, he'll definitely come back into the 23. Josh has played that bench role really well. He offers something slightly different. He's good in the wide channels, and he'll come on with a real point to prove as well. Yeah. So I don't mind that.
And how does Josh compare to Doris, both at 7?
Look, Josh is quality as well. where Doris would definitely have an edge is at the line out and as a ball player.
A ball player.
Yeah, he's better.
Handling
his footballing ability.
Footballer.
Yeah,
Okay.
And just awareness in contact, ability to get his arms free, offload. He'd have a little bit of an edge there, but two high quality guys, good options there. And it's great to build a bit of depth at 7 when Josh has dominated it for so long, and he's been fantastic for such a long period of time. And I actually think it's only going to be maybe a week or 2 week gap. It could really reinvigorate him.
Yeah.
And if he does get an opportunity this week, I think he's going to have a big one in him.
The World Rugby Player of the Year has a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a problem to have.
Yeah. So it's just a very interesting move, and I guess it gets Conan into the team is part of their thinking. Was Conan was there any kind of feeling Conan's too good to not have in the team the last couple of years? Is that a bit of a thought as well, do you suspect?
Yeah, when you've got the starting lines, number 8 sitting on the bench.
Two tours in a row, thanks very much.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but yeah. He's also, like, Conan has had his injury issues as well. We haven't been able to select him consistently, where he's got over those in the last kind of 3 seasons.
Gibson Park's right back in form, isn't he?
He's back. Yeah. And that's where, like, there was a bit of frustration. Like, I was frustrated with him in the Leinster-Munster game because I just hold him in such high regard. And it's not just how good he was at the weekend playing at scrum half. Like, what a fantastic rugby player. Like, he looked just as good as any fullback or winger. I don't know what position he was playing towards the end of the game, but he just wanted him on the ball.
There was a suggestion, I mean, his kick for Henshaw.
Oh, but it's just his awareness, his rugby awareness. Like, he threw that dummy, it was just like, oh, that was lovely. Everyone in the stadium bought it.
I saw someone wondering, was his little stint at 6'2", at fullback with a view to a possible 6'2". Now, who knows what they're cooking up,
Yeah, like he should remember. I think it was the World Cup against Scotland. I think he ended up playing a good chunk on the wing. Yeah, and he looked amazing. Like,
did he?
Yeah, he did because he's fast. He's fast enough.
Yeah,
but yeah, look, he looked really good, and his instincts were sharp. Like, when we were talking last week about Ireland playing on top and the 9 getting out and picking the right option and the forwards running at space. He did that really well. Like, I think it was the play where he just goes across to, we scored the try off, he goes across to Robbie Henshaw. Everyone in the Australia team has expected that to go to the forwards. Like, Ikitau and Sualihi are reading that. And he's just thrown this pass all the way across to Henshaw. Henshaw, lovely pivot pass, pulls it back out to Prendergast. It looks simple, but it's simple because the execution is so good.
What about Paddy McCarthy then? Because I don't think people anticipated him starting ahead of Porter for this game. Like, he was talking to the media afterwards, Paddy McCarthy. It was quite funny. He was saying, even let alone playing the match, he was saying, like, squad selection, that he got a text message, as they do these days, and it was like ANS squad, as in Autumn Nations Series squad. But he thought he was in the Ireland A team.
Oh my God. And probably delighted.
Yes!
You know what I mean?
Joe, look! So he just thought Ireland A, I don't know what the N's about. National squad? Maybe it's the Ireland A national squad. I'm in the A's.
Autumn Nation Series, yeah.
So he's not just in the Ireland squad. I mean, he started, people are saying he's the business in a scrum, and Ireland's scrum was good. So does Porter have genuine, this is real competition coming here, or do you think Porter's very comfortably number 1, and this is just, let's get minutes into this guy, but he's a very able number 2? Is that close, that race, do you think, between the two of them?
No, it certainly is close. Like,
really?
Yeah, like, without getting into the nitty gritty of scrums, like,
because you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm always happy to reference someone else. So in this instance, Robin McBride, step right up.
Okay.
So I was talking to Robin with James Tracy before the Zebra game, and this is an amazing insight, but he was just saying that he's a referee's dream as regards his body position at scrum time.
Okay.
That just how well he keeps his feet under him, the positioning of his back, the squareness of him. Like, Porter has. And once referees gets a certain thing in their head, it can be an issue. And referees seem to think that when Porter becomes under pressure, he turns in. And the one against New Zealand, there was 2 crucial penalties there, but there's been plenty of other ones. And whether he's doing it or not, referees, it's always an easy out for them to go to.
Well, his problem now is perception, is reality.
Yeah, and then you also have the opposition knowing that, and then they're going, well, if the tight head bores in, there's a good chance that the ref's going to think it's Porter doing it.
That's very significant then. And how do they compare in open play?
Well, Paddy's just very physical. Like, he's similar to Joe. Like, he's just gets around. He's good awareness as well. He knows where the, like, when you see a Loosehead scoring tries, you know, he knows where the ball's going to be coming out of the breakdown. He's assessed what the opposition defence have done. Is there a wall right in front of him? Should he leave it or pass it out, or should he go for it or go for it quickly? Even in the 5 games that we've seen of him this year, he's done those parts really well. If he gets you in the tackle zone, he bangs. He hits really hard. Okay. And he's a fit guy. Definitely. Like, right. He gets around, he works hard.
Suddenly a very viable option.
No, he is. And Porter has played a lot of rugby. Like, he would have been, for me, he would have been a candidate to maybe say, look, get your feet up for autumn, and you're going to be our guy in the Six Nations, where we've rolled him out again for the autumn. He hasn't been playing particularly well, and he just looks a little bit tired. There's handling errors that he's making. He's overrunning certain plays, like not necessarily what you're looking for from a Loosehead, but it just kind of gives you an indication. Maybe he's a little bit fatigued from the Lions tour. The Lions tour will have been slightly disappointing for him. He would have been expected to start that. But he's a quality player and has been, you know, our Loosehead for, you know, what's he at now? 80, 90 caps. So I'm by no means writing him off, not at all. For me, he's still our first choice guy. But do we have a genuine guy who can compete with him?
Yeah.
And again, go back to the conversation of the starter, the impact player.
Yeah. Or certainly the days of Porter having we play 75 minutes across every season.
We can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We need to have the quality to bring a guy on 50, 55, 60 minutes.
This is a huge find then. This was
brilliant
like
find.
Our problem position behind, with all respect, you know, Cian Healy was going right to the end, but this was a big issue for Ireland. So that's major.
And look, there's still, like, if he gets tested this week, that's the true test.
Sure.
But then the other thing I'd also say is, this guy's guaranteed to get 20% better when Big Joe comes in and is playing with them.
Why?
2 brothers playing against each other. Or is playing with each other. Like, these guys would have poked the head off each other growing up. But then, like, it's like, right, we're together now.
I feel like I'm sitting around that table in Moneyball where all the old guys are talking nonsense and Brad Pitt's going, Jesus. And one of them just said, get the brothers.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it can be that simple.
Okay.
But I'd say the excitement that Big Joe would have of playing alongside Paddy the Baddy would be something else.
If you take a swing at Paddy.
Yeah.
So isn't it a kind of mad thought you could have the Prendergasts and the McCarthys?
Yeah. And like, Ireland have missed Big Joe this autumn like that.
Would he be in instead of Ryan?
I think that would probably be the one, yeah.
Is Tyke Burns undroppable?
Yeah, for what Tyke offers you around the pitch.
And you sort of want Tyke out of the back row now, do you? For physicality and energy and all the things you're looking for? Or it's not...
Depending who you're playing against. I wouldn't rule it out. And depending who's playing well in the second row and what's needed there. Okay. But what Joe offers you in the maul, scrum, and his bullocking, carrying, impact tackles around the pitch, we've certainly missed that. And we'll need that against France.
So in broad terms then, with South Africa coming... a much more positive day out for Ireland. A lot more players like, they're in quite good form all of a sudden. That's much, you know, just looking more like themselves. And also I think, like, between positional changes, i.e. Doris and then Conan and you come, Stuart McCloskey coming in and being, you know, it's a pity about his injury, but doing very well. Paddy McCarthy, namely, Baird doing okay, room for improvement, but kind of a slight hint of renewal.
Yeah. And
is the team less kind of, I could name this team for next week, 14 out of 15, guaranteed probably 15 out of 15. That's where the team had got to in recent times. Yeah,
and if you can find 3 new guys in a rugby team over the course of a year, it's a fifth of your team. Sure. You know, and like, we've uncovered Tommy O'Brien. Like, Tommy looks really good down that right side.
Funny, I didn't even stop. I stopped mentioning him as
you're kind of he's probably our guy now down the right.
Yeah,
regardless of who's fit.
Oh, do you think?
I think so. Yeah.
So if Hugo comes back and gets the nod of 15, Hansen wouldn't start over Tommy.
Yeah, he might do. But Hugo's going to have to work hard to get his position back at
15.
At 15,
is Hugo not kind of unimpeachable there?
No, no one's unimpeachable. You got to have competition across the board. And no, I'm not saying that Tommy's locked in, but Hugo's not available at the moment. Tommy's locked in this weekend.
Would you now think if it was Hugo and Mack and Tommy all fighting for 2, you think the conversation has switched to Mack versus Hugo as opposed to Mack versus Tommy?
For what Tommy's offering early, in fairness to Mack, he's very good early as well. No, I don't have a definite answer on that.
And you're keeping James Lowe in?
Keeping Lowe in on the left, yeah. That power. And
do you know what, though? That's great stuff.
No,
I'm presenting this. God, that's a real problem.
No,
This is great because we just haven't had enough of this.
Yeah, and that's where you want to have that as your back three, and the form of these guys is going to be very different when we get to the Six Nations as well. That's the nature of back three players,
yeah, and
especially wingers.
One of them's going to be injured,
unfortunately.
Nothing sure through a World Cup.
And that's where, like, having a gun to your head saying, well, who are you picking right now? Well, I'm picking Tommy now because that's who's available.
Yeah.
But it will also come into it who you're playing against.
I feel like Farrell very sneakily is doing great things here.
Yeah, he is. One area that I would say I'm still concerned about is the centre. Like I wasn't...
Ringrose is fit again.
Ringrose being fit again is huge. That gives real chance.
He goes straight in?
Straight in at 13. Definitely.
And alongside him? McCloskey out.
McCloskey's out. I'd say they'll probably start Robbie at 12.
Okay.
I was disappointed with Bundy. Like I hold Bundy on a really high pedestal, and he was poor at the weekend, and he'll have been disappointed with it. Whether like his carry against Suoli, for example, like if you compare that to how he was carrying the ball at the World Cup, chalk and cheese. He's probably running over Suoli at the World Cup. Whereas, and look, Suoli's no slouch. He's a brilliant defender. He gets his angles right, hits him into touch.
Do you think Bundy, like, the lines again we saw, is he just someone who, like, has to pick his pockets or pick his moments or peak for certain times, or is there a degree of, God, he's 34?
No, I don't bring the age thing. Sometimes just games can unfold a certain way that they don't really go your way, but...
Is it just a bad day?
Yeah, like if you think back to the Welsh game where we were in like a real dark spot and we had him to come off the bench and he kind of salvaged us that day.
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
So give him a pass.
Oh yeah, 100% give him a pass. But
does any part of you think South Africa? It's just the kind of
need him against South Africa.
Just the kind of smelling salts that will wake this guy up. You know what I mean? And Farrell does have a Tyburn, I trust you in the lines thing. So
on paper, Bundy's the guy to start at 12.
Yeah.
But is he showing enough in training? Because he's not showing enough. His cameo against New Zealand was poor. His cameo against Australia was poor. Now, if he's going much better in training, Farrell will give him the benefit of the doubt. But if he hasn't been great there, he'll go with Robbie.
So South Africa then are everyone's favourites for Saturday. They beat Italy with 14 men, 32 points to 14. Mad stat for their brilliance. Like, even Farrell is talking, like, they're the best team in the world. They're doing amazing things. Ireland have won 4 of their last 5 meetings with South Africa, and they've never won in Dublin. Not since 2012. Razzie's obviously never won in Dublin. So, like, the balance is sort of in Ireland's favour, but it doesn't feel like that, obviously. This is going to be hopefully a phenomenal game now that you feel Ireland have got themselves back into some kind of form. So to what extent do you make South Africa favourites, and why?
Yeah, well, like when we were leading into the Ireland-New Zealand game, everyone was favouring New Zealand because we were kind of getting them as they were peaking in this season. Yeah. They weren't fatigued like they are now. Post-Rugby Championship, their cohesion was really good. Whereas now it's the South African game where it's positioned. Ireland have now played 3 games, had 4 or 5 training weeks. Are beginning to find our stride.
We're cooked.
Yeah, we are. We're getting there. And South Africa have had 3 red cards, 1 against Connacht and then 2 in the last 2 internationals. But all 3 of those players are unlikely to be available. 2 in the second row, which is a big loss. And then the game against France, they had to go to a deep part of that well to get over the line. Italy should have been a considerably easier game. And while you look at that scoreline, and yes, they won by 18 points, that was a really tough game. Like, the Italians put it up to them, and having to deal with another red card, that will have taken its toll. They do provide the opposition with plenty of opportunities. You've just got to take them. And even Italy at the weekend, Garbisi missing 2 easy kicks in the first half to get scores on the board. They could have beaten South Africa had they taken their opportunities. Now they didn't, and South Africa were deserved winners. But if we can, when the opportunities present themselves at the weekend, and they will present us with opportunities, even with Sasha at out half, who I think the world of, but there's a looseness to his game that we can capitalise on. And traditionally when South Africa do come over, we're usually able to uncover some sort of chink in the armour. Like I think back to when we played them and Joe was coaching us and he uncovered a chink in their backfield cover and Murray puts in that crossfield kick. I think it was on the second or third phase. Tommy Bowe scores from it, 7-pointer. You know, can we have a moment like that at the weekend?
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of nudging towards you half fancy Ireland here.
Yeah, I am. I like our chances at the weekend, but we're going to have to play, you know, our very best. We are going to have to play our very best at the weekend. Mm. But I saw enough positive signs from the weekend that I knew if we weren't running onto the ball with impetus, we didn't have a chance this week. We've refound that. Yeah. Refound that bit of cohesion. We were very good early. We're going to have to be brilliant. We're going to have to be even better again this week. Yeah. But if you can do that well against Africans, you're right in with a chance.
Yeah, okay. Ooh, going to be good though. Let's finish on England. Just because it is worthy of mention, the extent to which they're kind of clicking. Like they went behind to New Zealand. New Zealand scored 2 very good tries and looked like, Jesus, they're playing well again. But England, like, it's so Borthwick. Like the game has really swung back. Just Steve Borthwick's the right man in the right place for the way the game is going. George Ford taking a drop goal when they're behind, chasing the game. And yet the second, was it 12-7 when he kicked a drop goal?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something like that.
Or 12-8, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, England are going to win this game.
Yeah.
The second he kicked that drop goal at 12-8.
Yeah. And
this is early enough on in the game. It's like, there's something, they so know what they're doing here, England, and it's so effective. As you said, the aerial game, they're either winning it or if they get the break or whatever. It's like, the image I have in my head is the 2019 World Cup semi-final where they just rampage through New Zealand at times. Like, they look so strong. This team is beefy. Like, the centres, the back rows, they're all just monsters. And then their scrum demolished the New Zealand scrum, like embarrassed the New Zealand scrum. They finished so much stronger. I take the New Zealand fatigue into account. It is a factor. But they just like ate them up in the end. It was really impressive.
Yeah, they know what they've got in their armoury and they're playing to their strengths. Yeah. So, as you said, they're really good at scrum, really good at maul, a real power team. Yeah. Excellent kickers at halfback. It's like
everyone's 6'3" and fast and explosive and just
packs a punch.
Beefy.
Yeah. But with that, when you've a powerful team, what you don't necessarily want to do is go really high on the phase count because you just gas out. And that's where you need an attacking coach and a defensive coach that works together. Okay, so, you know, you could have the best defensive system in the world, but you could have an attacking system that has your team so flat out exhausted.
Yeah. We're going to do 35 phases and then get up for your
over to you guys. Yeah. Over to you guys.
They're explosive.
They are explosive. Yeah. But you also have one of the best tacticians in the game in Ford running the show. Yeah. Right, so he has his finger on the pulse. He's there going, right, we've gone 4 phases, 5 phases. We're in around the 22. We could keep pounding away here for 10, 11, 12, 15 phases. Or I can drop back into the pocket and probably have an 85% chance of knocking this over for 3 points. Bang.
And do you think he is, in that moment, because this is in the first half hour,
yeah.
Do you think he is weighing up the physical profile of the team and saying, we don't need another 10 phases here?
He's that good, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, no, he is. He's as regards strategy, kick, like in the kick battle, he's the best guy I've seen. Just how to navigate it, cover the backfield, whether to go aerial, long, and just to stay in a sustained kick battle, knowing what to do in the right areas of the field. I'd say there's lots of coaches out there that say to their young out halves, go watch George Ford and learn what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, they're playing to their strengths, and they look like a really tight team. Like, I know there's lots of people laughing about like the videos of I think it was Pollock and Finn Smith and Freeman, and I can't remember who else was doing it. They're doing like some TikTok video of the night after beating England, and people saying, "Oh, it's really cringy and that's not rugby, whatever." It's actually great, and it's given more exposure to the game. And these guys are happy to be shot at, and they look like they're having great fun along the way.
Yeah. Okay, so they have their house in order. Does make I mentioned at the top, Six Nations now is tasty.
Oh yeah,
France, England, Ireland.
It's looking kind of too. Yeah, even like the Italians looked a lot better. They'll take a scalp this,
and so will Scotland for all the
for sure.
But they will.
Yeah. There'll be no easy games, except for Wales. Wales looked pretty poor against Japan. Scraped over a win. I'd say they're going to be in for a long day against New Zealand. There'll be a backlash there coming this weekend.
Well, I watched that show on YouTube, the New Zealand show, The Breakdown, I think they call it. It's very popular. Jeez, they're like Mills, Moyinga's on it. Is John Kirwan? Anyway, they're like full blown, presenters. Like, so this coaching ticket has no international experience. Like, do we need to pull the plug on this? They're like, yeah, there's no game plan. What is the game plan? No one knows the game plan. It's full on. This guy Robertson's out of his depth. Do we just get rid of him now? That's the mood in New Zealand.
Yeah, as in, we don't have to stick with a coach for the full World Cup cycle.
Oh yeah, like it's mutiny.
Yeah, it's tough being the coach of the New Zealand team. I'm sure it was the same at the last World Cup and they made the final.
But after 15 minutes with their 2 tries, it cuts to Robertson. He's like, I'm about to win the Grand Slam.
I know.
Sure. Now it's like, should we sack him?
Yeah.
So there will be a backlash against that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go on then. Without seeing the teams, without knowing anything, South Africa, Ireland, your score prediction, which we won't hold you to.
I had a good run with it last week. Now I think
what did you say?
I said Ireland to win, but I think it was less than 10 points. Maybe I said.
And you weren't remotely close.
No, it wasn't close. But at least I said Ireland to win, and I was right on that part.
You did. You did. Well,
I did say England to win, and I did say Argentina to win.
Okay.
So not too bad. Okay. Not too bad.
So what do you think? Not what the heart says. Like, can Ireland get up to the level they need to?
We can win. Definitely, we can win. Same as the New Zealand
will.
Will we win? No, I don't think we'll win. I think we'll be beaten.
Not by much.
Not by much. It'd be very, very close. It'd be similar to the game that we played them in the group stages of the World Cup.
I'd feel okay about that, I think, now.
Yeah, look, we're going to be right in this game, and it's going to be a real arm wrestle. It's going to be unbelievable spectacle.
Yeah.
And it's going to go right down to the wire. There's going to be big moments in this game, and they're going to dictate.
Is it just because they just have something special, as opposed to
power-wise is where they've got the big edge?
Okay.
Like when things aren't going great to you and you've got that to go to.
Yeah.
What a great thing to rely on. Right, let's just smash it up around the corner, go aerial, apply field pressure, get them in the scrum, get them in the maul. That's where they've got the edge in us, and that's usually what gets you a W over an L.
I know. It's funny, isn't it, for like all the talk of the innovation, and they only have 2 props on their bench. They're incredible. At a certain point, it comes back to they're big and they're mean.
And like not many other teams can survive with 2 of their second rows being unavailable.
Yeah.
These guys can.
Okay. Let's talk next week, next Monday, and hopefully it lives up to expectations. Ian Madigan, Brill.
Thanks, William, for having me on, Joe.
Cheers.